Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. Bronson Dant is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out his appearances on episode 271, episode 487, and episode 687 of Boundless Body Radio. Bronson Dant is a level 3 CrossFit certified trainer, a certified personal trainer with the NASM, and also certified in the functional movement screen, USA Powerlifting, USA Weightlifting, Kettlebells, and is also a ketogenic and carnivore nutrition coach. He has been coaching and training people in health and fitness for over 10 years. Bronson started CrossFit around his 40th birthday and fell in love with the variety, community, coaching, and results. Bronson spent many years in the U.S. Army as a senior physical and fitness instructor and designed specific methods to use both nutrition and fitness to radically improve the lives of hundreds of people all over the world, thanks to his passion for learning and improving his craft. Bronson is the author of several books, including The Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness Book, The Complete Guide to Optimizing Keto for a Better Quality of Life, and his most recent book, Body Confident, Unlock the Secret to Strength, Independence, and Lifelong Badassery Using the F2 Method. Bronson Dant, stud, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
How's it going, Casey? It's fantastic to talk to you again. I appreciate it. I just realized I didn't give you an updated bio. So since you've had that bio, which is probably like the first bio I ever gave you, I've also become a certified strength and conditioning specialist, got my CSCS,
right,
behavior change specialist, and accredited metabolic health practitioner. So
wow.
It's been a little bit, and I'm almost done with my master's in exercise and nutrition. So
that's incredible.
Been a little busy.
Yeah, you have. You always are. We talked about your passion for learning in the introduction, and it might be old, but that still sticks around. It's pretty cool. And you in August are embarking on a new kind of journey to get your doctor's degree. That's pretty amazing.
Yes. That's get a doctorate in health science. It's an applied degree, so it's not a PhD. It's a DHSC, and that's because I really, you know me, like I came up on the floor, right? I came up on the gym floor. I learned by actually working with people, hands-on, eyes-on, that clinical, real life, real world experience. And I want to be able to take the scientific aspect and kind of translate it into practical things that make sense for people to do. So it's an applied science degree. It's not a research degree. Now, I will be doing research. I'm actually working on 2 papers right now of research that are going to be freaking, dude, I'm so excited. I've become such a nerd that I mean, I've always been a nerd, right? I've been in IT for almost 30 years, but the nerd of like reading research papers and trying to dig into all of these things that I used to not even be able to pronounce. It's such a weird thing. It's just, my life is so surreal right now with the enjoyment I get out of reading science. It's
that's awesome.
Inexplicable, but
yeah,
enough about me.
How's
it going with you?
Oh, it's going great. It's been, nice weather around here. It's Stanley Cup playoff season around here, which is always great. I love it. Our city, Salt Lake City, got an NHL hockey team this year, so that's been really fun. And I am a little disappointed that you haven't finished the doctorate degree, and it's not in a medical world, because I had this rash like on my lower back. I was going to show you during the podcast.
Go
Can you take a look and show me?
You must not be carnivoring hard enough.
Fine. We'll spare the people watching the diagnosis. I'll maybe go to somebody different, I guess. But man, we kind of, we keep up communication, and it's really nice to keep up with you and see what you're up to. Also want to ask about Nat. How's Nat doing?
She's doing fantastic, man. Her business, oh my God. She's got something just about her that I wish I could duplicate for myself, but she just draws people to her. The way that she cares, the way that she listens, the way the empathy that she shows with all her ladies. Her business is growing. She's doing well. She's actually in a transition point now where she's like, hey, you know how you've got that phase in business where things have gotten really good, but in order to get to the next level, you actually have to take a step back from trying to grow and get some things in place and spend a little money and do this and, kind of build some infrastructure and systems and things like that. So she's in that spot right now. And when she comes out of that, dude, I'm a little scared at how she's going to explode. And I don't think she even recognizes where she's about to go, because it's some good stuff going on.
That's amazing. So she's a really good person. She's incredibly sweet. But I think the one thing that stands out the most, besides how absolutely just smart she is, she's just smart. She's very intelligent, but she's also super authentic. It would be really hard to be in that world where you're literally standing on stage and asking to be judged against other people. I would I would have a really tough time, trying to be somebody different. And she's not.
Mm,
She just is really good at being herself. And when you talk
absolutely.
about drawing things in, it's not only those other attributes, but she's just herself. Like she shows up on your podcast and you guys have chats, and it's just like she could have gotten out of bed 5 minutes ago. It's not like all the makeup. It's just, no, we're gonna sit here, we're gonna have a real chat, and it's so authentic. I love it.
Yeah, that's how it is. It's really great living with her. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We have such a chill existence. We have to remind ourselves, and we have to intentionally practice gratitude, because we're at that place where things are going so well that the little things that bother us would have been dream problems 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we got to, we're doing, we're not where we want to be by any means, but we have zero to complain about where our life is right now and how things are going. So things are
That's
good.
amazing. That's amazing. Oh, that's awesome to hear. You and I bounced some ideas off each other about some things to talk about, and I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
about to get you very riled up about something. Uh, I know enough about social media to know that I, should kind of stay back a little bit and see what's going on. I've noticed a bit of a trend just in the last few weeks. This thing has come up, and I have not even wanted to take one little look into exactly what this is. And so I'm so excited to get you on and get you riled up. Bronson Dant, what in the hell is the sugar diet?
Oh God, man, I don't want to be having this conversation either, to be honest with you. The more I've dug into it, the more I realize it's not actually, I didn't hear about it. It's only been a few weeks where I really have seen it become kind of the fervor that it's got right now. And that's since Mark Bell kind of started talking about it several weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, I found out that Bart K did a video blowing this stuff up, as he does, about a year ago. So it's been in the works, so to speak, and been under the undercurrent of social media for a while. It's just now, because of Mark Bell, I think really because of Mark Bell, that it's really starting. It's got the press that it's gotten now, and I hate, honestly, contributing to that, right? Because I know we have this conversation, people are going to be like, oh, what's that? What is he saying? And then they're going to go to his page, and that's the whole reason he's doing it, right? Is to get people to go to his page. So that's the unfortunate truth and facts of life. In order for me to address it and help people understand that they need to stay away from this, I have to talk about it, and that's going to make people also go there and check it out. So it kind of is what it is. Basically, this is another one of those things that you have heard me talk about before. If you focus on the mechanisms of weight loss, you will 100% of the time lose sight of the real goal. And that's what this is. This is somebody digging through science literature and saying, oh, wait, I found this obscure enzyme peptide substance, whatever you want to call it. I don't remember if it's a peptide or an enzyme, called FGF21, that if you eat sugar, sugar activates it, and it's supposed to ramp up your metabolism and help you lose weight faster. Say, okay, cool. That's a great thing for weight loss. There's a lot of problems with this idea. And when you make a decision solely on weight loss, and that is the number one thing that everybody seems to be willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater for. This is one of the quotes that drives me absolutely crazy. I have it here in one of his videos. I unfortunately had to watch a lot of videos about this and listen to the ridiculousness.
Maybe I should have too, because misery loves company.
Yeah. There's a quote from one of his things. Now, here's the thing. This is one of the logical contradictions of this whole process. In every video that I'm seeing, everyone's talking about, everyone that's promoting it, they're promoting it. They are promoting this diet as something people should do. And at the same time, they're saying, I'm not saying everyone should try this. This is just my experience, and I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And then saying statements like this, and I quote, "There is no better diet in the history of histories on this planet or anywhere else than the sugar diet for fat people."
Wow. And who is this?
Mark Bell.
This is Mark Bell? Okay.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely right. I'm not promoting this. I'm not telling you should do it, but I'm also saying that it's the best diet in the world if you're fat. But I'm just telling you what I'm doing. You're not fat, Mark. Like you're running around at sub 10% body fat all the time. You're on steroids. You actively acknowledge that you currently take PEDs. You work out an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, whatever it may be. You're lean. You are not a fat person. So the context that you're trying to tell people they should take it doesn't apply if all you're doing is sharing your experience, right? There's so many things wrong with this. So Nat and I did an 1.5-hour video on this. So I don't want to take a whole 1.5 hours just to talk about this on your show.
We'll link that for sure. That sounds helpful.
I do want to run through a couple different things though and explain why I'm so against this.
And before we do this, can I just ask, can you say what is the diet? Is it just
that's what that's what I'm just gonna do.
Okay, please.
So I'm against this, and you'll understand a little bit more when I tell you what it is. The basics of the sugar diet: eat mostly fruit and some vegetables, no more than 30 grams of fat per day, half your lean mass in grams of protein per day, not even body weight, not even goal weight, half your lean mass in grams of protein per day. Follow the diet every day or a few days at a time. No need to track. Eat when hungry. Eat sugar, eat fruit, right? Eat candy, drink cola, drink Gatorade whenever you're hungry. Don't track anything.
Which is always because you're always going to be hungry.
Always hungry. You're never satiated. You're literally going to be eating 8, 10, 12 times a day. Okay? You can see right off the bat, like, this is like, what are we doing? Okay. So some of the reasons why they're saying that this is a good thing to do. Tell me if you've heard any of these before. And just for anybody listening, there's nothing new in this diet. All of the claims are pulled out of the archive of the standard American diet, why it's good, of the avoid protein, why it's bad, of fat's going to make you fat, and fat is the cause of all health problems. This is all the same stuff we've heard. They're just packaging it in a more sensational way and trying to claim that it's the best way to lose weight. Okay. And I'm going to admit something. This is a great way to lose weight. You will drop weight like you have never dropped before. You will fuck yourself up if you do it. And then when you start eating regular food again, that weight is going to come back on, and it will be harder to lose when you try to do it the right way after this screws you up. It is better to just stick with the plan you're on, keep doing what you're doing, and save yourself the pain and the hassle. I'm telling you right now. All right. The things that they say, the reasons you should do this, right? Protein's going to mess with your insulin sensitivity. It's going to make you insulin resistant. Did you know that? Have you ever heard that before?
I've never heard that before.
Protein messes with your insulin. Fat makes you fat. Restriction isn't sustainable, which is hilarious because they are literally saying, don't eat all of this, just eat sugar.
Yeah, restrict your protein, restrict your fat.
Restrict your protein, restrict your fat, and you can eat all the sugar you want. So they're not saying that restriction is not sustainable. They're saying it's a lot more enjoyable to eat a bunch of sugar. That's really the case is being made. Okay. And you'll love this one. This is one of my favorite topics. Sugar is the preferred fuel. Right? So these are the main reasons that they're saying why we should be doing this. This is the best diet in the history of histories for weight loss. Now, here's the thing. I just said, it is a great way to lose weight. You're going to lose weight because you are literally starving yourself. You are eating zero nutrition, getting zero macronutrition. You're not getting any micronutrition. You're not getting any minerals, any vitamins. You're not even getting much that your body, you're not getting anything that your body can do anything with other than inflammation. Everything you're eating on this diet is causing stress on your body. The ramping up of your metabolism isn't because your body's like, ooh, I want to burn more. It's because you're making it do more things than it wants to do. You are literally starting a cascade of chronic inflammation that's going to screw you up. It could be days, weeks, months, however long you decide to do this. And if you decide to do this, this is one of the other justifications I get all the time. It drives me absolutely crazy. It's not a diet, it's just a fast. It's just a short-term intervention. That's worse. In many ways, doing a fast and going all sugar for 2 days, 3 days at a time, then going back to your regular nutrition, then going on sugar for 2 days, 3 days, and that is worse. The extreme shifts in metabolic stimulus, right? The ups and downs of your insulin, the ups and downs of your glucose, the changing from you're getting all the nutrition and then you're getting nothing but stress and then you're getting all the nutrition, that will screw your metabolism up more than anything. That's where we get, I hate to use the word confusion, but your metabolism doesn't know what the hell to do. Your body's like, what are we doing here? So,
dude, I worked on a metabolic cart for over a decade. I measured this, with a metabolic cart, and you could see it when you knew somebody's habits. You knew the people who were burning super high amounts of carbohydrates. They were not burning fat. They had suppressed metabolic rates, so they weren't even burning very many calories anyway, and they weren't getting results. Like I saw it all the time.
Yeah, and the main mechanism that's being touted here is the FGF21. So anybody, go ahead and look it up, guys. FGF21. It's what is it? Fibroblast. Hold on, I got it here. Hold on, I gotta find it. FGF21. Forget what the full name of it is. Fibroblast something. That's not it. Fibroblast growth factor 21. Okay. Here's the catch with it. It's supposed to kick your body into super fat burning mode. If you're obese, FGF21 is already active and stimulated in your body. So you don't need to eat sugar to do it. Here's the problem. If you're obese, part of the reason it's not doing anything is because you are, tell me if this word sounds familiar, FGF21 resistant. Mm-hmm. So eating a bunch of sugar isn't going to make FGF21 do anything in your body that it's already not trying to do. It is literally not doing anything. Okay. Again, it's the not eating food that's going to make you lose weight. It's the self-starvation. It's the malnutrition that's going to make you lose weight. You're going to lose fat. You're going to lose muscle. You're going to, hormones are going to get messed up. Your stress is going to go crazy. Your cortisol is going to go, all the things are going to get messed up. Yeah. So okay. Wow. It's crazy, dude. I haven't even touched on there's some claims, right? Supposedly it helps people binge less. It increases weight loss. We do know that. They say it works best on fat people. You're supposedly going to maintain muscle mass somehow with only eating half your body, half your lean mass in grams of protein. And I would not ton of sugar. That. Your body is zero anabolic processes happening and supported, and you're going to maintain lean mass. I'm not sure how that's going to happen. I know one of the mechanisms, which we'll talk about, and I'll debunk that later. It's supposed to help balance hormones. Not sure how that works. Eating a bunch of sugar all day long and fiber and fruit and who knows what else, especially when most of it's from fruit. So you're getting a lot of fructose. And it provides constant clean energy.
That's, objectively, categorically, it's not true.
There's nothing about this other than the weight loss. And this is it's the marketing hook. It's what's getting everybody. Everybody's looking at it. I can't even tell you how many people I see that I follow who follow me, or clients that I've talked to, or just conversations that I've seen of people in a number of keto carnivore groups who are like, I think I might try it. It sounds like it's really interesting. You know, I understand the mechanisms that they're talking about. No, you don't. Because if you understood the mechanisms, you wouldn't be talking about it, because you don't have any idea how you're screwed up you're going to be.
Wow.
Right. Everybody is so lost looking for weight loss. They're just willing to throw their health out the window just to get a number on a scale. And it's sad. I feel for people that have that much invested in their weight. And you know, it's why I wrote the book Body Confident. It's why I wrote Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness. I will always be trying, because I know it's never going to change. It's not going to change a lot. Hopefully I make some kind of a dent, right, in getting people to understand that your weight doesn't mean the damn thing. What you can do in your life, what you can physically do, the freedom that you have to move around and do things, that's what matters.
Yeah.
If you can do that, I don't run around with a six-pack. I probably run around average between 16 and 18% body fat. I'm probably closer to 18% right now. I got a little chub. I got some love handles popping in on the side, right? I can't see every line in my abs when I take my shirt off. There isn't a 25-year-old on the planet that I wouldn't be willing to go up against and do something physically.
Yeah.
There definitely isn't another, I'll be 53 in 2 days. There definitely isn't another 53-year-old that I'd have a problem against. You know what I mean? Like, I work out, I can do things now that I couldn't even possibly think about doing when I was 25. Wouldn't have had any idea how to do some of the stuff I do now.
Yeah.
That's more important than how much I weigh. I've weighed less than I weigh now. I've weighed a lot more than I weigh now. I've weighed a lot more than I weigh now and could do a lot more from a strength perspective. I was a lot stronger at times, you know, 10, 15 pounds heavier than I am now. Weight, they, you know, the whole saying, weight moves weight, right? Guys, it has nothing to do with how much we weigh. If you weigh 300 pounds, I get it. You don't want it. You're stuck there. You feel like your life is horrible. Start focusing on fixing why you're 300 pounds. And that will change so much more than just the number on the scale.
I love that.
Because the number on the scale is fickle. If you do things just to change that number, you will never be able to maintain it, because you always have to maintain that thing. Here's a concept. I had to stop eating French fries for years in order to get where I am today. I have French fries at least once a week now.
Wow.
Because I paid my debt. I'm no longer in the hole. I'm at a point where I am physically healthy and I'm not stressed over every single decision that I make, because it's not going to keep me down. I'm already up. Right? We talked about living the life in that gratitude. A couple of years ago, I realized I don't have any fitness goals anymore. I don't have any limitations that I'm trying to remove from my life. I can do literally anything that my body wants to do. So now I have to create things out of the air that I might be interested in doing, competing for, shooting for, trying this, you know, whatever it may be. I don't have the limitations. A lot, you know, I don't have a pain to remove. And in many cases, this is a harder place to be in than getting to where I am now, right? Because it's maintaining something. I've got to make myself remember the hard times that I'm not currently living in. It's different when you're living in the hard times, right? So, but because I'm here, I'm also more free. It's literally a money thing. It's like your health is money. If you are in the hole, and many people are in the hole, you're in the red and you're way in the red. Why in the world are you taking a vacation?
Yep.
And you all want to take a vacation, take a weekend off and go binge on alcohol, do the sugar diet, whatever it may be, to try to lose some weight. That ain't going to do it. That's the Ponzi scheme on the side. That's the gambling. That's the casino that you're going to. Literally, that's a great analogy. The sugar diet, all these fads, all these things that are going to speed up your fat loss outside of just staying on the path, is the difference between taking some money out of your check every month and sticking it in the bank until it grows, until you pay things off, versus playing the lottery or going to the casino trying to hit it big and then pay it off with your winnings. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money playing lottery tickets on your health. That's what this is. So
I love it.
That's where I'm at
That
with
is
this.
very, very well explained. And you mentioned your books, and I realized in frame, I have your books, but they weren't in the frame now. So this is product placement. Boundless Body LLC is going to send you an invoice for a $20 check.
Hey,
or,
you got it, man. Anytime.
Commission. It's so well explained. And that's the thing that like bugs me about listening to content from people like Lane Norton, for example. I don't like to call people out by name, but it's like what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and what you're saying to me isn't wrong. Like you can manipulate calories and lose weight, and that's really cool. But you're talking about weight loss. When we go to conferences, when you and I go to conferences, we've both been to a lot of them. Are you ever stunned how little like weight loss is even mentioned? Like that's like on the back burner mostly. It's like we're talking about metabolic psychiatry. We're talking about sugar addiction. We're talking about fixing horrible digestive issues like you did. And like it's bigger than just the weight loss. And yeah, we'll talk about weight loss, but it's not like the main thing. It's all these other amazing things that like you're wanting to go after this number. You think you're going to be super happy when you get there. And I'll use this example. I believe I used it last time I chatted with you. What about Nat? If Nat does not address herself and is not present with herself and doesn't fix all the issues that she has herself, she'll stand on stage as the tannest, leanest, most amazing version of herself on the stage, and she could win a contest and she could feel terrible the next day. Like this means nothing. This is just a judging contest. But it's for her, it's meaningful because she puts in the work and she understands, again, she's got to address other things. And then it's a meaningful thing and it's a part of life, and then she can move on. I see people get destroyed by doing bodybuilding competitions when they're not realizing that they need to work on those other things. It's not just about how you look one day on stage. It's all these other things. You're not going to be happier.
Yeah. The number that well, I won't go there. Anyone, if you're listening, or if you know someone that is like this and is obsessed with the scale, or is willing to do anything to lose weight, that mentality is a guaranteed sign that that person has completely given their power away. And they, for many reasons, usually it's because they don't feel like they have the power themselves. They've given their power to the scale. They've given their power to something external from them. And that's literally the reason I named the book Body Confident. I want people to have the power to take things in their own control, to take things into their own hands and do what they want to do for themselves, and realize that it's not their body fighting against them. It's not that their weight that's the problem. It's the things and the way that they're thinking about the process that is the challenge. So,
well, yeah, just thinking about your book, you did such an amazing job in that book outlining that. And I would argue, like, if somebody were to read your book, go through everything, go through all the processes that you talk about, and they land on the fact that they do want their weight to be lower, hey, that's great. You did it. That's great. But you were conscious of it, and now you have steps to do this in a way that will repay you as you go, versus like you think you're going to be happy being 50 pounds less gravity on planet Earth.
Right. And hopefully they'll have a reason why. Like, okay, I want my weight to be lower, and here's why. Exactly. And that's the catch that most people don't understand. They're not aware of. It's like, why am I so tied to this weight? If you ask somebody that, most people don't have an answer. Yeah. Why does it matter if you lose 50 pounds? Well, because I don't like being this heavy. Why don't you like being this heavy? And it's crickets. Right? Well, what is it? Well, and then if they are self-aware enough to have answers for a couple of these why questions, it will always boil down to a physical limitation or a medical reason. And then when you start talking to them through that, I'm hoping in a lot of cases, they start connecting, well, wait a second, it's not the weight that's the problem. That's the thing that I'm thinking is going to solve the problem, when really all these other things are the problem. And this is just a symptom of that. Yeah. We're looking at things a lot backward, but that's again, not coming down on anybody. It's really hard in a society that only talks about weight loss.
Yeah, and I was just going to say,
Right.
if you're listening to this and watching this, it may sound like Bronson and I are at the top of the mountain and we're, kindly extending our arms to the top. No, we suck at this too. It's probably why you wrote the book.
Absolutely.
Why you wrote the book. And yeah, so it's something we're all working on, and it's awesome that you went to that level to explain that. I get discouraged when I see the latest kind of thing and everybody jumps on board for a little while, and yeah, it does damage. It takes people off course, and
Yep.
yeah, if it causes the things that you're saying and make perfect sense, then it's going to be more trouble down the road. So I appreciate that. You definitely educated me on that topic, so thank you.
And if anybody wants to learn more about it, Coach Nat and I on my YouTube channel, Coach.Bronson, we have a video. We did a coffee talk last week. Stephen, UK Carnivore, Stephen did one a week ago or so. Dr. Barry just did one a couple of days ago. And then Bart K did a video about it about a year ago.
Okay.
So those are some spots people can go look in.
Anybody can go look those up. I will link specifically yours in the show notes so that people can just go directly to that. So that was great. Awesome. Thank you for addressing that. We wanted to talk about some other things that you've learned recently. I thought some of these topics that we kind of bounce back and forth were really interesting about, protein timing and, especially the way, talking about like glycogen depletion, things we think that we know a lot about. It seems like you've learned a little bit more and gone a little bit deeper into some of those topics. So I don't know where you want to jump in, but I'm excited.
Yeah, well, we can kind of jump in at that. We talk about the three topics: the glycogen depletion, protein, and insulin are in that bucket of building muscle, etc. And that's been a topic. So one of my focuses going into the master's and then going into the doctorate is I'm leaning towards understanding the ketogenic adaptations and their impact on sports performance. So we know that keto athletes anecdotally have better performance, or at least the same performance as athletes that are following traditional carb-fueled, methods. There are some standout people like Zach Bitter who can run 100 miles and on, training and everything else is completely carnivore. He uses some carbs on his races, I believe, but is pretty much, low to zero carb. Or there's other people, I forget the guy's name, that did the 3 or 5 marathons in 5 days or something like that, where he ran a marathon a day for a few days.
Yeah.
And they're going fat fueled, so we know the performance is possible. But there's a lot of, let's just say, bias in the literature and misunderstanding, and I haven't figured out if it's intentional or just ignorance from the researchers' part on what these adaptations mean and how this stuff all works.
In which direction? Where is the bias coming from? Which direction?
It's against keto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of the literature points to some specific things that in the context of the ketogenic diet don't even apply, but because they're not addressing the context, they're just saying, based on these measures, keto's bad for performance. It's like, well, but those measures aren't what you think they are when we change everything from carbs to fat. It's a whole different conversation, right? So there's that. But in this process of going through my master's, working on a couple of different papers to get published in these types of topics, I've learned some things and then I started a blog as well. I don't know if I talked to you about ketogenicathlete.com.
Oh, you have mentioned that, but yeah, we'll tag that as well.
That's kind of the research and things that I'm doing and learning about exercise science, nutrition, how ketogenic diets adaptations impact sports performance. I'm writing about that stuff in the blog. I'm writing stuff and I'm learning stuff and I'm like, wait a second. For instance, glycogen depletion. I see all the time people in the keto space, bodybuilders in particular. A lot of people in the CrossFit functional fitness space, high intensity workouts, who talk about, well, carb cycling is great if you're doing these types of exercises and programs and blah, 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 blah. And then I started researching it and realized, wait a second, here's a study. Carb depletion workouts only deplete muscle glycogen locally, right? So in the muscle being worked, not even systemically in the whole body, up to 25%. So I can do a workout that is a glycogen depletion. It's supposed to completely deplete your glycogen stores, which is the claim that you need to eat carbs before a workout so that you don't run out of glycogen in your muscles. But in a carb depletion workout, I'm only going to lose about 25% of my glycogen. What's the problem? Why are we doing this? And then when we look and then you think about it in the big picture, well, that's a carb depletion workout. Most people aren't intentionally trying to deplete their carbs in a workout. So the average is probably much less than 25%. That doesn't include intra-set resting. So if I do a set and then rest a minute and do another set, I've got a minute of replenishment that happens, right? It may not be a lot, but it's going to take the edge off. So it's the overall number is going to be lower than what we're talking about. And we know that carb replenishment, glycogen replenishment in keto adapted or fat adapted athletes is the same as standard American or carb fueled athletes. So in between your workouts, you don't have a problem with replenishing your glycogen. So that's not a need. We don't need to eat carbs afterwards. And even if I didn't replenish my muscle glycogen as fast on a keto diet, if I'm only using, let's say on an average person, average workout, 15 to 20% of my muscle glycogen, and I didn't replenish a single molecule of glycogen between workouts, I still have 5 days in a row that I could work out at 20%. So why again are we saying that we have to cycle carbs in order to have energy to work out? Doesn't make sense to me. Right?
Can I give you an example?
Say again?
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Sunday I will eat my dinner, carnivore meal, 6:30 p.m. I go to bed 8:30 after sitting in my sauna, watching some playoff hockey. I wake up in the morning, I start taking clients. That's my day to 24-hour fast. I like a Monday kind of 24-hour fast to reset everything. I'll take my clients, I'll walk in between clients if I get the chance. And just the way my schedule works out, my own personal hockey game is 11:45 to 1:15 p.m. on Monday. So I go into that workout having not eaten for about 18 hours, 17 hours, 18 hours. And I skate fast. Like I skate pretty hard for a 41-year-old. I'm chasing down 20-year-olds. I'm not getting beat too often. It's, very glycolytic. It's you push as hard as you can for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then you go sit, you rest, and you go back out. And I play hard for an hour and a half until the very, very end. I go to the locker room, I change, I go back to my stuff. I take the rest of my clients for the day. I do all my afternoon computer work. And then at 6:37 p.m., that's when I break my fast and have my 24-hour meal. Like that should not be, I could not.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Right. Happens every day. Happens every day. I mean, I work out. The days that I work out, I get up in the morning, I have a cup of coffee with some protein, some Equip protein powder. I eat lunch, which is about 10 eggs for lunch. And then I get home around 3 to 4 o'clock. I go to the gym around 5 o'clock. I eat dinner around 7. Right. And I haven't had a problem in years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, could all of this be related to, I always think about my favorite study ever was the George Cahill studies in either the 60s or 70s where they took overweight people and fasted them for 40 days. If it was the same study I'm thinking of, they also dosed these guys with insulin at the very end of the study, which is crazy. And they dropped their blood sugar to single digits and they were like walking around with no signs of hypoglycemia, which is fascinating. But they show what happens during a 40-day fast. And it's like you burn off initially all of the carbohydrate you just ate. And that's pretty immediate, that it starts out very high and then it goes low. Then you start to burn off all of your stored energy in carbohydrate. And that might take a day, depending on how active you are. Obviously, you just don't have endless amounts of carbohydrate. And then you see this line rise and then just kind of settle down into this low level gluconeogenesis, where the body using fat as fuel, moving around protein possibly, but using fat as fuel as a primary source is just there to create exactly as much glucose as you need for whatever you're doing, whether it's writing a paper, having your workouts. I mean, is it related to that?
Most of the glucose that's being made is coming from the fat. And people don't realize that. Being ketogenic is what enables gluconeogenesis. When you break down body fat, you break down triglycerides. It's a triglyceride, which means glycerol is the remnant, the substrate that's left over after the fat is broken down, that goes directly into gluconeogenesis and your body makes glucose out of it. So body fat turns into fat and glucose for fuel.
Right. And I'll always explain
a lot
it
of
too.
people don't realize that. People think protein, gluconeogenesis, oh my God, protein. No, protein's the last thing on the list, and all the neighbors have to be away from home before it gets there, right?
And does the context change if the athlete is running on sugar and thus needs a high amount of sugar, and then the body will use gluconeogenesis to break down the protein, or is that still not happening?
Protein, if there is, see, this is the cool thing about it. There may be a tipping point where the fuel requirement is greater than what can be provided, and it has to go into gluconeogenesis. The problem is, I don't know. I have to look into this. I'm not sure what the rate of production of glucose is from protein. I have a feeling like it's slower and more expensive than fat breakdown, right? So
I would think
if the body is primarily burning fat, then it's always going to be producing glycerol to be used for glucose. So there may be a hypothetical crossover point where the body's like, I still can't get it up this way. I need to start breaking down, right? But if that exists, we're talking long periods of workout, right? We're definitely not talking about a 30-minute workout or even an hour workout at high
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking in the context of like if I'm say running a marathon, running a half marathon, whatever it is, that length of the marathon is going to exceed whatever sugar storage you have. So your strategy is either you take sugar on board, if you're a sugar burner, and try to push out the bonk as far as you can, or you're going to have to slow down at some point. Yeah. And so just comparing like a fat burner who's just burning fat and they can go out and do it fasted the way I play my hockey games. Sure. You're always just burning the fat and creating as much carbohydrate as you need from the fat. I always thought that like the protein breakdown would be an accelerated rate for the sugar burner who burns through all their sugar very quickly, but then doesn't necessarily automatically turn into a fat burner. They still need sugar at such a high rate, and they may have more substrate breakdown.
They do. No, because here's the thing, because this is the cool thing about this. This is why I'm fascinated about the sports performance aspect is, and this is one of the things that drives me crazy in the research, because metabolic flexibility is what you're talking about, the ability to go between carbs, sugar, glucose, and fat for fuel. And training adaptations improve metabolic flexibility. So you can be a carb-fueled athlete, but because you're training as an endurance athlete, you are physiologically improving your body's ability to burn fat. So the markers for increased fat oxidation are a good thing in that context.
Got it.
For some reason, if that same athlete goes keto and they adapt and they are then able to increase their fat oxidation, that becomes a bad thing.
Got it.
For whatever reason, right? Because the way that the measurements calculations work, it's actually so much more fat that they burn as a keto athlete that it basically breaks the formulas and no one knows what to do with it. But in the context of endurance sports, it's super amazing, super cool. There was a study that came out at the beginning of this year where they took, I want to say it was 5K, a 5-kilometer run. So high intensity, not super long endurance, not a super long time, but high intensity. And they gave the runners, I want to say it was 20 grams of carbohydrate at certain interval, 20-minute intervals, certain intervals. And the carb athletes and the keto athletes saw the same improvement in performance with a minimum supplementation of carbs, right? And here's the theory behind this. It has nothing to do with muscle glycogen. And this is where the glycogen depletion is also, it's not just that we don't have to worry about glycogen depletion in resistance training. We don't have to worry about glycogen depletion anywhere. Unless you're doing like 3, 4, 5, 6 hour runs, I don't think you need to worry about it.
I agree.
Right. because what this study showed is that hypoglycemia is more important to endurance and fatigue resistance than muscle glycogen stores. Right? So they were monitoring these athletes, and they basically said, when your blood sugar level gets below a certain point, here's your supplementation of carbs to get your blood sugar back up. All it took was enough of a supplementation to get their blood sugar back up. There wasn't any, we're going to try to get enough to get your muscles, none of that kind of stuff. It wasn't that. It was literally just combat or prevent hypoglycemia. Just preventing hypoglycemia enabled them to run for longer periods of time.
Wow.
Right? So it wasn't about muscle glycogen. It wasn't about carb or fat fueled. It was literally about what was in the blood. Right now, here's the cool thing about it. Here's what I talked to one of the researchers that did that study. And I was asking him, I said, hey, that's an awesome study. Fantastic. It shows a lot that we didn't really understand. It really kind of debunks the whole muscle glycogen conversation. What if we did a side-by-side study of the carb supplementation at 20-minute intervals and did one with carbs and one with exogenous ketones? Because if the theory is that combating hypoglycemia in endurance sports reduces fatigue resistance because of brain fuel, that's the whole idea, is that the blood glucose is fueling the brain. If we know the brain works better and prefers ketones, instead of supplementing with carbs, if you supplement with ketones, would the same thing happen? If the same thing happens, that's a whole nother ball game that we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, because that would be freaking amazing.
Wow.
So just some fun stuff going on there. But yeah,
that's crazy. No, I love that. No, and Tour de France athletes, they call them like $100 water bottles because they're filled with tons of carbohydrates and ketones at the same time. And they've learned this is like rocket fuel, and you need tons of these. And so, yeah, ketone esters, I believe, is what they use, and they're not cheap, but they drive a lot of performance.
Yeah, I would love to see, and this is the problem we have in sports. That somewhere along the line, everybody in sports forgot what minimum effective dose means. You know, we get something and we go, oh, 10 grams works, I'm going to do 100. With no concept or context of what is that extra 90 grams doing to your body. If you don't need it, why are you doing it? Right? So we have that in bodybuilding. We have that in all the different sports. We definitely have that in endurance sports. It just, you know, if we can get some sanity back into the conversation and say, hey, wait a second, guys, just because 10 grams is good doesn't mean you need to do 200, you know. And that's, you know, there are endurance athletes right now, you know, who are doing 200, 300 grams of carbs, you know, every 30 minutes. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's a lot.
It's crazy.
Wow, that's fascinating. Along with this, you also talk a little bit about protein timing. We just kind of talked about like carbohydrate timing, and the way I understand this is we thought like the consumption of protein, especially around a workout, was super important. And the longer I am doing this, the less I'm finding that to be true. Is that kind of along the lines of
pretty much it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The number one thing, particularly for anyone and even for athletes, there is such a small group of people that should even be worried about when they get their protein. And it's not athletes, it's bodybuilders, people who are trying to maximize their muscle growth because they're getting paid for it. Those are the people that need to be worried about this. Anybody else, the gains that you'll get from trying to time your protein specifically are so inconsequential to your overall success that you don't need to waste your time with it. Get what you need in for the day whenever you can get it. There's no limit. If you can get everything you need in one meal, then go for it in one meal. There's nothing that's going to prevent that from being used in your body. Okay. That study came out a few years ago. They tested up to 100 grams per bolus per meal. And they showed that there was more muscle protein synthesis at 100 than there was at 30, not less. Right. So you could eat as much protein in a meal as you want to, and your body's going to use as much of it as it possibly can.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the anabolic window is also a myth. If you're working out regularly, if you're regularly getting enough protein, there is almost no time that you're not in some form of muscle protein synthesis, right? So if you're getting good sleep, that's another one. So if you're getting enough protein every day, if you're working out and lifting weights regularly, and if you're getting enough sleep, you will not be in such a catabolic state all of the time that you need to worry about when you're getting your protein, because you have to maximize your anabolic window. You're always in an anabolic window, right?
Man, I'm so glad you're telling me this today and not 18 years ago, because I made so much commission on the Optimized by 45 slogan at my local gym. Oh, you just finished your workout. Go buy your protein and make sure in the next 45 minutes you get this in. Man, I'd be a lot poorer. I'd be doing something else at this point. Road construction, maybe. I'm glad you told me now.
Yeah.
No, I remember we had Stu Phillips on the show a few years ago. Here's a guy who studied protein muscle building at the highest level for like 30, 40 years. That's what he does as a doctor at McMaster University. That's all or McGill University, one of the two. Anyway, studying all this stuff, and like, talk about somebody who could tell you exactly the amount, exactly the protocols for both strength training and protein intake. And his overall message is like, you know what, you should lift heavy things and you need to eat protein. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's all it is. That's really all it is. Consistent intake, consistent stimulus, consistent recovery.
Yep.
That's what it is.
That's it. It's not sexy.
That's the key to building muscle.
Yeah. It's not sexy. It's simple. It's not easy, but
nothing that works is sexy, but it gets you sexy.
Yep. There you go. You heard it here first. Dude, I love that. I think we want to wrap up with also some chat about insulin as well.
We want to wrap it up. Damn. Okay.
Dude, I don't even know if anybody's listening or watching. This is selfish. We're just having a conversation that I am totally loving.
So insulin is another big one that I honestly, when I first started reading and researching this for an article, I questioned what I was reading. And often I'm reading about things that I already had knowledge about or learned about and whatever. I'm just trying to dig deeper. This was something that when I read like a reference in something, I was like, that's interesting. That doesn't quite make sense. Let me find that one and dig into that one. And then, well, that says this. It kind of just broke my brain for a little bit. And what I found out is that from everything that I read, and I'm still open to having someone tell me I'm wrong. It hasn't happened yet. And I haven't had anybody have an argument to tell me I'm interpreting anything incorrectly. But from what I can tell, in a handful of studies that I've looked at, insulin isn't anabolic. Insulin is touted as one of the most anabolic hormones we have. Bodybuilders inject it to try and force the protein into their muscle cells. What I'm finding is that the impact of insulin is insignificant in the absence of excess amino acids. Insulin itself does not drive muscle protein synthesis. It has to have excess amino acids in order to do anything. And even in that case, we do not know if it's the insulin or the extra amino acids that are doing the work.
Wow.
That's what I said. I was like, this is interesting. So I kept digging, and I found a good number of studies that all basically say the same thing.
That's fascinating.
The benefit of insulin comes from potential muscle preservation, but it does not actively stimulate anabolic processes.
So again, the idea that you hear all the time is like, no, you do not need carbohydrates to grow muscle. You need protein.
Yep.
But also, like, the bodybuilder will come back and say, well, that's to maximize. We need you need carbohydrates to maximize bodybuilding. Can both of those statements still be true?
Nope.
That's fascinating.
Again, what I'm seeing is that insulin isn't having an impact on hypertrophy, regardless of protein intake. Right. So, or even in the presence, right? So it's like, hey, we're gonna put a bunch of insulin, we're gonna put a bunch of amino acids, but if I just do a bunch of amino acids, I get the same amount of growth. So is it the insulin doing it? I don't think so. right? So it brings into question a lot of the stuff, which doesn't surprise me because everything that I've learned over the past 8 years has brought everything I thought I knew into question. This is just another thing on the list. Everything that from a hypertrophy bodybuilding sports perspective that I thought I knew about insulin. And what's even cooler from the ketogenic space is that I'm finding that ketones actually do have active roles in muscle protein synthesis and anabolic processes. So unlike insulin, ketones actually help create an environment for anabolic processes and can stimulate muscle protein synthesis without amino acids, just ketones by themselves. So, so this opens up the possibility, and I made the claim, I said it in one of my social media posts, hey, ketones help you build more muscle, to be a little controversial, but the more I look at it, the more I think there might be a case to say that ketones are more anabolically beneficial than insulin is.
That's absolutely fascinating.
So again, I would love for someone to say no, this or that or whatever else, but from what I'm seeing, that's what I'm seeing in what I'm reading. So
yeah, so I just want to point out, like I love your nerdery and your passion to find these studies and dig those rabbit holes. That's not me. Like 6 months ago, I learned that you could put ketogenic into Google Scholar and it will send you every time new studies pop up.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's like super annoying how often I get that email because they're being done all the time. It's crazy how many are being done. And you must love that.
So in the last 10 years, there have been over 5,000 studies on keto.
Wow.
In the last 5, almost 3,000.
Wow.
So 3/5 of all the studies that have been done on keto in the last 10 years have been done in the last 5 years.
Wow. That's incredible. Wow. And to know that you'll comb through those, you'll get through those. Obviously, you can't get through all of them. But there's also like, dude, like you and I have been in fitness for a long time. You and I have been in keto carnivore for a long time. And there's just like, you may or you may not have an explanation for it, but you just see things and you hear about things and you don't hear about things. And the thing that is always staggering to me is like, when do you ever hear about anybody on a ketogenic diet that doesn't easily build muscle without having to lift tons of weight? You just don't hear about it. Do you ever hear about anybody having a heart attack, regardless of what their cholesterol says, whatever the controversial release data from the keto CTA study about plaque growth? Is it growing? Is it not growing? Soft plaque? All these different questions about Clearly and AI and all this stuff. Anecdotally, like our friends who are all eating this way, you don't just see them like have you don't hear about it. It's even down to like bones. Like when was the last time you saw somebody at a conference and they had like a broken bone from something? These are really active people doing all kinds of stuff. And maybe it's just coincidence, but it's like after a while you start to notice these people are different. They're not the same as a general population.
No, not at all. Not at all. And everyone's got their things. And when you look at the community as a whole, I would say we have just as many problems as any other community from a health perspective, because we have people that are unhealthy coming into the community and trying to get healthy.
Fair.
I would say the difference is I see more people doing better within that community, right? So I see more people who are reaching things and doing things that they couldn't do before. And that's the cool thing about going to these conferences. And every time you go, you see someone, you hear a story. This has changed. That's changed. I'm coming off this medication. I can do this now. I went on a hike with my grandkids, whatever it may be. And those are the kinds of things where people don't have those good things happening in their life outside of this community.
You don't see that at Costco.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
People are driving carts around Costco. They're not dunking basketballs at age 60 like Sean Baker is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. That's really fascinating. You give me something to think about quite a bit. Again, it's just like without understanding exactly the mechanisms, it's almost like in your soul. You're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course it would do that. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Man, this has been so much fun. Like I said, if people are listening or watching, great. I almost forget that we even push record on this episode because I love chatting with you. It feels like just a casual conversation, and I love
Always.
your passion to learn and share and grow. And I love watching the two of you, and I'm so glad that the two of you got together and met. I've seen you both in person. You're both wonderful people, and I just talk about a power couple. You guys are absolute definition
Thanks, man.
of
Appreciate it.
that. So the only thing I regret is that Nat wasn't able to join us today. But be sure to give her a big hug from
Will
us.
do.
And for now, my friend, where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Yeah, so my website is super easy. It's coachbronson.com, and that's everything. Everything is there. So my books are linked there, my social media is linked there, but pretty much if you just search Coach Bronson, something that you can click on will come up.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll be sure to link that. We'll link that video as well. I think that will be very helpful for other people to learn. Obviously, the two of you have gone in much more depth than we did in this conversation. That's something I'm going to definitely watch as well sometime this weekend between Formula One races and a lot of.
So bear with it.
There you go. Yeah, when Formula Run's done and ice hockey's done for the weekend, we'll be good. Are you a fan of NHL hockey at all?
I've been to a hockey game and I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
But I've never, honestly, right now, something after COVID, I just lost all interest in sports.
Hey, cool.
I don't know what it was, but you know what it was? It was COVID and Tom Brady leaving the Patriots all around the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, I'm still a New England fan, but I don't watch as much as I used to.
Yeah, I haven't watched. I seriously can't remember the last time I even watched like a Super Bowl. So I definitely get that for sure. Yeah, but that's awesome, man. Well, again, Bronson, thank you so very much for taking the time to research all of this and share your information with us today on our show. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I look forward to chatting again sometime down the road. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.